I'm Kay from Ransom Photography. We've come today to Stony House Gardens in Gloucestershire. Welcome to the Always Use Auto course. This course is for novice camera users who are unsure how to use their camera and want to get their camera off auto. This is a 5-part course. We're going to cover ISO, aperture and shutter speed. I've made the first 2 lessons free, and then you can unlock the last 3 with just a small nominal fee. So let's crack on with lesson 1, ISO. So what is ISO? The ISO controls how sensitive to light the camera's sensor is. What is a sensor? An image sensor is a solid-state device, the part of the camera's hardware that captures light and converts it to what you see through a viewfinder or LCD monitor onto an image. Think of the sensor as an electronic equivalent of film. An image sensor detects and conveys information used to make an image. In the days of 35mm cameras, you could buy the different speeds of film. The options of sensitivity of the film were 100, 200, 400, 800 and so on. In those days, you picked one type of film and stuck to it for the 24 or 36 shots. Nowadays, we have the leisure of being able to change the sensitivity of our sensor using the ISO controls for every shot we take. Your digital SLR will have an ISO range starting at 100 ISO, going up to 6400 or even more. At ISO 100, you will have the best quality image. At ISO 6400, you will have the worst quality image. The faster the ISO, the grainier the image. So why use fast ISOs? The reason being, if you don't have enough light available, a compromise needs to be made. So you sacrifice some of the image quality to make the camera's sensor extra sensitive to ensure a correct exposure. Okay, is anyone feeling confused? If so, not a problem. Let's go through ISO step by step on your camera. Note, I will be using a Canon 5D Mark III or Mark II in this lesson. You don't have to use a Canon to do this course. The settings will be similar across all digital SLRs. The buttons and menus will have a slightly different layout note. Find a relatively dark area. I've chosen some shadows under a large tree. Pop the camera on a tripod and set the camera to M for manual. Then please select these approximate settings on your camera. Can you put the aperture on 8 f8, the shutter speed on 320, 3/20th of a second, and most importantly, put the ISO on 100. Run a quick test shot. You should have a relatively dark image. If you don't, find a darkened space and then try the process again. Now, don't touch the shutter speed or aperture for now. We will come to these functions at later stages of the course. Feel free to take a photo. You'll see a dark and not very interesting image. Now change the ISO to 200. You will see that the image is slightly brighter. Now change it to 400. Now onto 800. You're starting to get a much brighter picture. Now 1600. Now 3200. And lastly 6400. With each increment, you'll have noticed each photo is a lot brighter. This is because the sensor has become more sensitive. If you zoom into the images, you'll notice the quality slowly decrease. There will be increasing levels of artifacts and noise. These can look like messy, splodgy, coloured dots on the image. So the key thing we have learnt here is changing the ISO does 2 things. It increases the sensitivity to the sensor and affects the final quality of the image. I suggest you practice using this feature a couple of times so you get used to finding the buttons on your camera and fundamentally understand why you chose these settings. So our next lesson we'll be looking at shutter speed. We will learn how to freeze action, like a fast motor car, or blur action, like a waterfall.